Hello everyone, Matt from Model Minutes here, and welcome to the 19th episode of Subscriber Showcase, the series where you get to show off your modelling creations to the rest of the community. Without any further ado, let's get into it. Up first we've got Octanos. He sent in what looks to me to be the Revell RMS Titanic. I have started one of these kits myself and it is presenting a few challenges, which is why you haven't seen the build video on it yet, but I can see that Octanos has done a fantastic job of getting this one complete. I particularly love all of the rigging, and there is quite a nice and neat paint job on there. There are a few little areas which could do with a little bit of attention, but overall it looks to be a very well done model. So thanks Octanos for sending that one in. So up next we've got Chandler, and he sent in images of his 1:144 scale Revell Boeing 777-300ER in Emirates livery. The decals, he says, are made by Avia, which were bought off eBay and came all the way from Russia. The model is quite large and it measures 51 centimeters by 45, so that is a pretty impressively sized model. I think you'll agree with me that this is a very impressive model from Chandler. The paint scheme is very neatly applied and the photographs are very well taken as well. If I didn't know otherwise, I'd probably think this was an actual image of a real plane. Thanks very much Chandler for sending that one in, and up next we've got Fury 45. Now we've got a few submissions from Fury 45, and the first ones we're going to look at are the Bristol Bow Fighter from 1/72nd scale from Airfix. He decided to weather this one quite heavily to make it look as if it'd flown through a very severe hailstorm, and to be brutally honest, it does look incredibly heavily weathered. But that aside, it does look to be a very well constructed model. The next one we've got from Fury 45 is a RAF Mustang 4 in 1/72nd scale. This is the Airfix starter set, and you've done a very good job. It's got a very nice and neat paint finish on there. The decals are well applied as well. The next one is a Revell Spitfire Mark II in 1/48 scale, but it's got its own custom silver paint scheme. I do quite like it when people do their own thing. It shows a bit of individuality. We've also got a Spitfire Mark I, which is an Airfix one in 1/72nd scale. And again, you've gone a little bit off of the paint scheme instructions there, and you've made this one into the grey and green rather than the brown and green camouflage, which I quite like. It's quite a nice looking model. And finally, there are all of your submissions that you've sent in, as well as the Fallen Nat, which apparently was his first kit ever. So very well done. Those are some great looking kits there. Thank you very much for sending them in. Up next we've got Grant. Grant has sent in some of his submissions before, but he neglected to send this one in previously. This is his Gloucester Javelin in 1/72nd scale from Novo. Apparently this was his first go at putting the pictures behind them, and he was quite pleased with the effect, which is obviously why in the previous episode of this series we've seen more of them. I particularly enjoy looking at these models. I think they look very convincing in these photo frames, and the models are built to a very high standard. So thanks Grant, thanks for sending that in. Up next we've got Kit, and we've got a couple of models here. We've got a Airfix Hawker Typhoon 1B in 1/72nd scale on the top left, which is a work in progress. And then on the bottom right, we've got an Avro Lancaster from Airfix, also in 1/72nd scale. He says I picked this one up a few years ago and finished it then. They're both good kits, but he reckons that the Typhoon needs a bit of filler, and I can see a few gaps there. He's hoping to be able to do a good job of the painting though, as he's just bought a airbrush. So good luck with that. Airbrushing can be a very different skill to master from a normal hand brush, and it's something that I'm currently learning as well. But thanks very much for sending those in. Up next we've got Peter, who I think also appeared in the previous episode. He's sent in his finished 1/48 scale Revell Ventura Mark II, which is on the bottom right, and it does look absolutely brilliant. And then in the centre we've got an Opel Blitz in 1/35 scale from Tamiya, and then on the left we've got an F14 Super Tomcat from Tamiya in 1/48 scale. And your work is absolutely fantastic, Peter. I can not really find anything there worth picking you up on. If you can spot anything that Peter has to improve on, which I don't think there is, let him know in the comments below. Up next, we've got the real fire tube, and we've got a few models here. We've got top left an Airfix Curtiss Tomahawk. Then we've got a few other planes to the right, which were his first attempts at modelling. Bottom left, we've got an Airfix Spitfire, and then bottom right, we've got a BF-109. And I think you'll agree with me that you can see a development in the skill. You can see that something hasn't necessarily worked this time round, but you've got it right on the next one, and then you've developed your skills as you've gone along, which is what modelling is all about. I hope you stick with it, and I hope that you find enjoyment from it, and over time you will find that you improve. So thanks very much for sending those in. Here we've got a bit of a scratch built model from Esglenny. He calls this the Hawkfire Mark II, and it is just made up of random bits and pieces. I particularly like the display base you've got going on there. I believe that's something from like possibly Warhammer or tabletop games, but I do really like this fictional ship that you've created. I really think that maybe I should do some scratch building at some point or another. But thanks very much for sending that in. Here we've got Steve. Steve has sent in some pictures of his Porsche 959. It's a Tamiya kit in 1/24 scale, and he likes this car because it is extremely rare. It actually apparently used to be illegal in the USA due to crash testing regulations. So if you see one, he says, take a picture of it because you might never see it again. He's happy with how this kit has turned out and feels that it's sort of a turning point in the quality of his builds. He was very careful and patient with the details, and I think that shows, Steve. We can see that you've made a lot of effort and time into finishing this model. The paint finish is great. I presume those are decals there for like the logos and things, and they look good too. And then in the engine bay, you can see very sharp contrast between the different colours. So yes, I would say that you have developed a very high level of skill. So thanks, Steve, for sending that one in. Up next, and our final submissions today, is Tijon. Firstly, we've got the Airfix 1/48 scale P51D Mustang in 67th FPS colours, which he built with the landing gear up. This was the Korean War redesignated version of the P51. And he built this back in December. I think it was probably December 2019, because I'm a little bit behind on my subscriber showcase submissions at the moment. He did notice that he did have a bit of a gap, and when he came back to finish this one, the decals had started peeling away. So as a result, he decided to give it some battle damage, and the battle damage does look quite convincing. He used some of my tips from my battle damage video, making some holes, snipped off some different bits to make it look like it's been hit by some bullets. I do quite enjoy seeing these sort of builds because it shows you that people can adapt and overcome when they meet a challenge with their builds, and to be honest, there's no real right or wrong way of dealing with that. And his next and final build for today is a Curtiss Hawk. This is a 1/48 scale one from Airfix, and this was more of a recent build from him. He says the kit was surprisingly easy and it fitted together well. However, one of the landing gear legs was a little unstable and it snapped off, which meant he had to glue it back on, but it does look a little bit wonky now. But he says it's a good kit, and I have heard good things about the Airfix P40. I've got one in the stash somewhere. But I think you've done a really good job of this one. There is a bit of a seam down the centre, and I know people pick me up on my seams, but you know, future builds, maybe something to look at improving on. And that is it. That is all of the submissions we have time for today. So if you'd like to get involved, here's how. So firstly, you've got to be subscribed to my channel. Then you can email my address on screen, any high quality audio, video, images and text of your work. And then finally, all you've got to do is wait for the video to go live. However, I have noticed a few little trends recently of things that people have been doing, so I'll put a little bit more guidance on the screen now. So firstly, because I get so many submissions, I'm probably like 100 submissions behind where I should be really. I'm probably about 12 months behind. Please only send in one model per person. I know we've seen a few models from a variety of people in the past, even in this video, but from now on I'd prefer it if I'd had one model per person so that everyone gets a fair chance. Secondly, provide information about your build. Some people send me stuff, they just send me images and I don't know anything about the build. How was it? Was it easy? Was it a good build? Was it a bad build? Did you enjoy the model? What is it ultimately? Because I don't necessarily know every single model kit that's out there or the scale that it was built in. So I'll guess, but I won't always get it right. Please provide a name. Some people have sent stuff in and not told me who they are. So if you want that credit, make sure you do. If you have a social media account such as a YouTube channel or an Instagram that you want linked, then please include them. And if you do send something in, please wait until you see that submission in a video before you send another one in. If I get inundated with the same person sending me loads and loads and loads of submissions, unfortunately I might have to push them to one side to let someone else have a chance to be featured. At the moment, I'm only accepting email submissions, so if you contact me on Discord or on Instagram or Twitter or anywhere else, unfortunately I can't accept them. This is due to a variety of reasons, one of them being the fact that if you send it to somewhere else, I forget about it and then it just doesn't get included. And also, like on Instagram for example, if you send me a direct message, when I save that image it becomes really pixelated and low quality. So to preserve that quality, please send them via email as an attachment. I do have a Discord channel in my server where people can submit these submissions, but at the moment it's closed because, like I said, I'm a little bit behind. I didn't expect this to be such a popular series, and especially now as I've just gone past the 20,000. We've grown as a community to over 20,000 people on the channel, which is amazing. Sadly, if everybody wanted to send a subscriber showcase submission in, I don't think I'd ever recover from 20,000 of them. And yeah, sadly, at the end, I might have to pick to allow, time constraints, and for quality wise, if you send in too many or you don't follow the guidance here, I might not be able to include it in the video. But I'd like to take this opportunity here whilst we're talking about it to say thank you to everyone who supported me so far, and I do enjoy seeing your submissions. Before I sign off, I'd like to give honourable mention to my patrons and channel members on Patreon and here on YouTube. A massive thank you to these guys for the extra support they give the channel. If you enjoyed this video and you like what you saw, click that like button. Don't forget to let people know what you thought of their builds in the comments below. And if you're new here, click that subscribe button so you never miss a modelling video. All that's left to say is a massive thank you to you for watching this one, and I'll see you on the workbench, possibly, next time.